Did you know most people forget 80% of what they read within just 24 hours? It's shocking, right? Stick with me, because today we're diving into why this happens and how you can remember more of what you read. Let us go deeper into the science of memory to really understand why forgetting happens and how we can outsmart it. Memory isn't a single thing. It's a complex system, like a library with different sections, each serving a unique purpose. To make reading stick, we need to know how these sections work together. First, let's talk about the memory pipeline: encoding, storage, and retrieval. Encoding is like taking notes during a lecture. When you read, your brain translates words into concepts, images, or feelings. But if you're distracted, say, thinking about dinner, your encoding is shallow, like scribbling half-hearted notes. Storage decides what stays. Your brain isn't a hard drive with unlimited space. It's more like a curator, choosing what's worth keeping. Finally, retrieval is pulling up that info later, like finding a book in the library. If the book was shelved sloppily, weak encoding or storage, good luck finding it. Now, let's break down the types of memory involved in reading. Sensory memory is your brain's snapshot of the page. Letters, colors, maybe the smell of the book. It lasts a split second before fading. Short-term memory holds a few sentences at a time, like keeping a phone number in your head before dialing. It's fleeting, maxing out at 20-30 seconds unless you act on it. Working memory is where the magic happens while reading. It's your mental whiteboard, letting you connect the sentence you're reading to the one before it, or to your own experiences. But working memory is limited. Psychologists estimate it holds about 7 items at once, give or take. Ever lose track of a plot because too much was happening? That's your working memory crying uncle. For reading to stick, we need long-term memory, the brain's archive. Long-term memory has subtypes: explicit, facts and events, like the plot of a novel, and implicit, skills and habits, like how to read itself. Explicit memory splits further into semantic, general knowledge, like who wrote Pride and Prejudice, and episodic, personal experiences, like where you were when you read it. When you read, you're weaving both, facts from the text and the context of your life. Here is where it gets fascinating. The brain. S gatekeeper for long-term memory is the hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure deep in your brain. The hippocampus decides what's worth saving based on a few cues: repetition, emotion, novelty, and relevance. Ever notice how you remember a story that made you laugh or cry? That's your hippocampus tagging it as priority. But a dry textbook chapter with no personal connection? It's like junk mail, filtered out. The prefrontal cortex also plays a role, especially in working memory and focus. It's like the brain's CEO, directing attention and organizing thoughts. If your prefrontal cortex is distracted, say, by a buzzing phone, it's like the CEO taking personal calls during a meeting. No wonder the info doesn't stick. Another player is the amygdala, your emotional center. It lights up when you read something surprising or moving, boosting memory consolidation. That's why you might remember a shocking news article, but forget a list of vocabulary words. Emotion is memory's glue. But here's the catch. Reading often happens in a low emotion, low engagement state. You're skimming a report, half listening to music, or rushing to finish a chapter before bed. Your brain's like, hey, this isn't urgent. Plus, the forgetting curve, discovered by psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus, shows we lose info rapidly without reinforcement. Ebbinghaus found that within an hour, you forget about 50% of what you learned, and by 24 hours, it's up to 80%. Brutal, right? Let's zoom out to why reading specifically challenges memory. Unlike a conversation, reading is one way. You can't ask the book questions. Unlike a video, it's less sensory, so your brain leans heavily on imagination and focus. And unlike a game, there's no immediate reward. So your dopamine system, the brain's ooh, shiny motivator, stays quiet. But don't despair. By understanding these mechanics, we can flip the script. Memory isn't fixed, it's trainable. The key is to align your reading habits with how your brain naturally works. giving your hippocampus, prefrontal cortex, and amygdala what they need to lock in information. Let's move to the solutions, where we'll turn this science into action. Now that we know why we forget, let's talk solutions. These aren't just tips, they're brain hacks, grounded in psychology, to make what you read stick like never before. I'm sharing 5 techniques, each building on the science we just explored, plus examples to bring them to life. Ready? Let's do this. Technique 1. Active engagement. Passive reading is memory's enemy. To remember, you need to do something with the text. Think of your brain as a muscle. Active engagement is the workout. Here's how. Question the text. As you read, ask, "What's the main idea?" Or, "Why does this matter?" For example, reading a history book. Ask, "How did this event change the world?" This forces your prefrontal cortex to organize info. Summarize in your own words. After a page or chapter, pause and restate the key points. If you're reading about photosynthesis, say, "Okay, plants use sunlight to turn carbon dioxide into energy." This strengthens encoding. Teach it. Pretend you're explaining the material to a friend. Teaching forces you to clarify concepts, cementing them in long-term memory. No friend? Talk to your dog or yourself. For example, I once read a dense psychology paper on cognitive biases. I was zoning out until I started scribbling questions in the margins. How does this bias show up in my life? By the end, I could explain the paper to a colleague without glancing at my notes. Technique 2. Visualize and connect. Your brain loves images and stories, not abstract facts. To make reading memorable, turn words into mental pictures and link them to what you know. Create vivid images. Reading about a war. Imagine the battlefield. Soldiers, smoke, the clash of swords. The weirder, the better. Your hippocampus loves novelty. Use analogies. If you're learning about economics, compare supply and demand to a tug of war. Analogies tie new info to existing knowledge, like Velcro. Build a memory palace. This ancient technique involves placing ideas in a familiar space, like your house. Reading about planets? Picture Jupiter on your couch, Mars in the kitchen. When you walk through, the info comes alive. Example, studying biology, I struggled with cell structures until I imagined the cell as a factory, the nucleus as the boss, earhairs to S office, mitochondria as power plants. Suddenly, it clicked, and I aced the quiz. Technique 3. Spaced repetition. The forgetting curve is real, but spaced repetition is its kryptonite. Review info at increasing intervals to lock it in. Take notes strategically. After reading, jot down 3 to 5 key points. Don't copy verbatim. Paraphrase to engage your brain. Review smartly. Look at your notes the next day, then 3 days later, then a week later. Each review reinforces the memory trace. Use tools. Flashcard apps like Anki or Quizlet automate spacing, or go old school with index cards. Example. For a philosophy course, I made flashcards for key thinkers, Socrates, Kant, Nietzsche. Reviewing them every few days turned fuzzy concepts into crystal clear ideas by exam time. Technique 4. Emotional anchoring. Your amygdala thrives on emotion, so make reading personal. Find relevance. Ask, how does this apply to me? Reading about leadership. Think of a time you led a project. Get curious. Approach the text like a detective. Reading a mystery novel? Guess the culprit. Non-fiction. Predict the author's next point. Curiosity sparks dopamine, boosting retention. Share it. Tell someone what you read. The social connection adds emotional weight, making it stickier. Example. I read a book on habits and connected it to my morning routine struggles. By applying one tip, habit stacking, I remembered the book and improved my day. Technique 5. Optimize your environment. Your brain's focus depends on your surroundings. Set the stage for retention. Minimize distractions. Silence your phone, close tabs, find a quiet spot. Your prefrontal cortex needs peace to encode deeply. Time it right. Read when you're alert. Morning for some, evening for others. Avoid late-night cramming. Sleep consolidates memory. Use multisensory cues. Highlight, underline, or read aloud. The more senses involved, the stronger the memory. Example: I used to read with the TV on. Terrible idea. Switching to a quiet desk with just a notebook doubled what I remembered from articles. These techniques aren't magic. They're science in action. Mix and match them to fit your style. Reading a novel. Visualize the scenes. Studying for exams. Combine spaced repetition and teaching. The key is consistency. Start small. Try one technique this week and watch your memory transform. You'll not only remember what you read, but enjoy the process more. What's your biggest struggle with remembering what you read? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear. If you enjoyed this, check out our video on advanced memory techniques linked below. Hit that subscribe button for more Psychiant insights, and I'll see you next time.